right now we're going to start with the very important question that everyone always asks me during an interview. What percentage do I think the A's are going to stay in Oakland versus Vegas? Recently, Brody, I had a very controversial take. I said 55 Vegas, 45 Oakland. That set everything on fire. Where are you?
I'm 65-65.
How?
Yeah, no, that's not possible. No, I just seeing if you were paying attention. I'll be honest. I think I'm at one of the lower points I've ever been in favorably the team staying in Oakland, which is obviously what I prefer. I don't hide any comments about that. I'm very forthright. That's what I hope happens. But I do think that maybe we're down. We really are down to like 50-50 at this point. Now, I was somebody who maybe even 2 years ago, 75%. Maybe 80 after some nights, maybe down to 70 other opportunities and situations. But I really do feel like it has diminished and degraded. And it's not one particular thing, Casey, that has brought me down to literally 50-50, which I hate, by the way. Such a generic term, right? It doesn't do well for somebody trying to watch this and really get a grasp. But it's 50% is still quite good. But at this point, we haven't seen movement. We've seen an overall picture of things that just does not bode well. We've seen so much silence now for almost 6 months on all fronts. You can talk about the A's not really bringing this up publicly. Commissioner Rob Manfred has decided not to yet reach out, at least as we know, to the Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao. She is not talking about this unless asked about the Howard Terminal project. Meanwhile, we know that work is proceeding in Las Vegas. So I don't know that I'll ever sway until I see renderings or things moving forward in Las Vegas like you did to say that they are the front runners. I think I'm still a ways away from that, but I think I'm kind of right now at that 50% position, which honestly is not extremely comfortable.
Yeah, I would say I was as high as 60-70% as well, because a lot of things were going right. Everything that could have possibly gone in their favor
BCDC
went in their favor.
Exactly. All the votes, the lawsuits going away for the most
we've
part.
We've never been this far. We've never been this far.
No, there were a lot of
stadium built
absolutely
in
a lot of developments.
It's literally never happened.
Yep.
So that's why I was as high as 60. I dropped down to 50 when the silence hit. The deal wasn't made with the previous administration. I was like, all right, maybe it's 50-50. When I started hearing the stuff I heard from a source about the Rio side, I started getting a bit more worried. That's why I've knocked it down to 45% Oakland. But I think if you look at it overall, we're still roughly in the same range. If you're 50-50, I'd say I'm, 45-55. And that could change very quickly in either direction. I will say this, and this is interesting. When I made that video and put it out, I had a few people reach out to me, and they weren't exactly happy with my estimate that Vegas had pulled into the lead. And let's just say people in the city are a bit more confident than I am that this thing's going to get pulled off.
People in the city of Oakland?
Yes. Okay. Oh, yes. People internally feel a little bit higher about the percentages. I'd say they're more in the 60-40 range. And I think the reason they feel that way, I've checked with multiple people. I talked to a lot of people after I put out that video, and I think they feel that the deal is still pretty close. They just need the last remaining grants to come in. And if those grants come in, they think they can make this thing happen.
I think time, Casey, is what we're up against here, right? Because it's, as much as Oakland takes a lot longer just inherently to do things, and the process is way more difficult, and the prospect of Las Vegas, I made a video a while back saying it's like dominoes, and as soon as you get them lined up, they can fall in Oakland, and they're standing in Oakland. They're just not lined up. In Las Vegas, the dominoes are not necessarily even standing yet, but if they get lined up quick, there's like 3 dominoes instead of 20. Things could move a lot quicker there. But overall, going back to the percentage thing, I think for me, the percentage has dwindled a bit because time has progressed, and time at some point runs out on the Coliseum. Time keeps the door open for Las Vegas. We are sports people. We're not politicians. We're not great at a lot of other things, but we do understand sports. And in sports, when you have a lead and you don't put a team away, right? You keep them in, you let them in the game. At some point, something bad happens. And with this game, with no clock necessarily on the end of it, you don't want the game to keep going on longer than it needs to.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. The dominoes analogy, the leaving people. I mean, I think that right now the A's have a situation where there are people on base. The game is entirely winnable. But if the next batter doesn't step up and hit one, either a squib, a bloop,
put it
hit
in
it
play,
off the wall, hit a homer. I mean,
yeah.
It's got to do something, just anything. And maybe the dominoes can start falling if we're going to mix all the metaphors. But right now, I'd say Vegas is like setting up their dominoes. I think in Oakland, dominoes have started falling, but the one domino missed the next one, and someone else just has to give it a little push.
Right. I agree with you. And I think that city of Oakland domino right now, and the infrastructure money, which apparently we were 10% away from, and then inflation happened, and the goalpost just keeps on moving. Like $350 million have been secured, as far as I understand, correct, by the city of Oakland through federal and state grants to pay for the offsite infrastructure. But the problem is, we used to be only about $30 million away from the grand total. The grand total has now probably gotten a lot closer to $500 million. Maybe after another year, I don't know, is it $600 million? So we're going to have to settle in with the realization that that number is going to keep changing. And it's intimidating. Now, I know they do this in other projects all over the place, all the time. But as it relates to this one, when you're on such a bigger scale of the cost, it gets to some pretty extraordinary numbers. And the way you have to secure that money, not from Oakland, not through public money from, Oakland's general fund, it becomes a lot more difficult when you're looking for scholarships for everything.